Welcome to the Wheel of Time podcast. We are the Lorehounds, your guides to Randland. I'm David.
And I'm John, and this is our coverage of the Amazon Prime adapted series, The Wheel of Time.
In this podcast, we're going to do a scene-by-scene breakdown of Season 2, Episode 2, Strangers and Friends.
Be sure to stick around to the end of the podcast for programming notes about our podcasting schedule for September.
For early access, ad-free episodes, and exclusive content, visit us at patreon.com/thelorehounds. Also, we'd like to ask if you're enjoying what we do, consider leaving us a rating and review. Apple Podcasts is the best place. And it helps to raise our profile even as far away as the Aiel Waste.
And specific to the Wheel of Time, we have a new feed set up just for the show. So if you're only interested in content about the Wheel of Time, you can subscribe to that channel. Our main feed is going to have all of our content. You can find that by searching for the Lorehounds. And we've got subscription feeds on YouTube and Spotify. So wherever you want this podcast and other science fiction and fantasy shows, it's there for you.
That's right. And you know what? We'd also love to respond to your questions, thoughts, and theories on air. So send us feedback for the next episode. And, it'll be after episode 3 that we'll start recording that. But send it all in now. Episode 1, 2, 3, everything you got. And because we've got screeners, we're recording these in advance a little bit. John will mention a little bit later about our recording schedule. So, we're going to catch up on the feedback, but we want it all.
Send emails to wot@thelorehounds.com or head to our website, thelorehounds.com, and either use the voicemail feature or the contact form. Or you can head to our Discord server, and there's a link in the show notes so you can get there. Just chat about it. Send us a nice, complicated Discord message with crazy fan theories, and we'll probably pull it and put it on the show.
It's very possible. John, we were chit-chatting offline about this episode. You seem to have some crunchy thoughts. Is that still the case? Are you feeling okay about this number 2 episode, or what's going on?
I feel okay. Okay. I did not dislike this episode for sure.
Got it.
This episode, the weakest of the 2 I've seen so far, was still good. It's hard to beat number 1, right? So I really loved episode 1. I didn't super love this episode, but it was still good. It was still better than any episode in season 1, I would say.
Okay.
So I'm still in a good place. I am baffled by the decision to make this a triple premiere. This is an extremely dense show, both episodes 1 and 2 so far. I think people could use a little bit more time to digest it. I'm very confused by the choice to do this. It might have to do with scheduling that we don't know about. But for now, I'm just going to roll with it, and I'm glad that we have at least the time to take a few days in between episodes. I am sorry for the public that it's just thrown at you. But I guess if you space it out, watch one, think about it for 2 days, do that again, and you avoid Twitter for spoilers, then you'll be okay.
Yeah, 3 is a lot of content, even for somebody like me who's not a full-on book reader.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. Like, I'm not lost in the story and anything like that. So as far as I can tell, they're handling everything pretty well from that regard. But just in this day and age, with the content, with Ahsoka, with Foundation, with a bunch of other stuff still on the air or just wrapping up, if you're playing catch up, school's going to be back in session. If for those people who are have kids in that are school age kids,
right?
So there's a lot going on, and in 3 hours of television to try to juggle and to catch, it is a really head scratcher. And like you said, who knows what Amazon's got coming behind this and why they're trying to hustle it up.
Yeah. It could be just, I don't know. I wish I wish they would let the Wheel of Time have its moment, but the other shows are going to end and the Wheel of Time will be going for a little longer and the wheel weaves as the wheel wills. And that's all we can do.
In Manhattan today, kind of cruising through the theater district, and there was a huge, I forget which building it was, but there was a big, full long block Wheel of Time banner on a building, and then on the corners it had other ones.
That's good.
So,
that's good. I'm glad they're giving the series the support it needs now, because it did not feel like it really got that in season 1. And I'm glad that they seem to be taking it more seriously now, which I appreciate. Yeah. One last thing I'm going to say is I did like most of the book changes. Most of them were smart condensing of characters or events. I did like most of them. Some of them worry me, but I can get there when we get there. And
Okay.
I'm not sure if I can even get to all of them because some of them are because of consequences down the line.
Right. Yeah, and as we talk a lot about with Foundation and Rings of Power, the shippy test, as we like to call it, is are the changes that are being made, do they serve the plot? Do they help us with the visual medium? And then I think you said it was Rafe Judkins who said, the showrunner for the show, was saying adaptation versus inspiration. Like that's a really nice
it's not him. It's actually Brandon Sanderson who wrote the last 3 books.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. That's how he's
who had that like crazy Kickstarter book.
Yes.
Deal.
Yeah. Like a 30, it might've been like 40 million. I don't know.
It was like the biggest Kickstarter, like one of the biggest Kickstarters ever, let alone the biggest one for a book or something.
Yeah. It was definitely the biggest one for a book. It was, I think, the second or third biggest ever.
Amazing. That's extraordinary. So,
yep.
Well, as a non-book reader, I felt this episode was fine. It was a good episode 2 episode. Deepened characters, picked up characters that, we hadn't seen so much, extended their plot a little bit, set up some dramatic stakes. We had a nice reveal at the end, and I am suddenly... a question you asked me last podcast was about like, what did I think of when he referred to when there was a reference to the other Forsaken.
Yep.
Now I'm like, oh, interesting.
The other chosen, I think he said.
Yeah. So I was pleasantly tickled by that. I was like, wait a minute, I have to reevaluate my whole understanding of the power structure of the bad guys here.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things in the books, and that doesn't really get revealed to the end of book 3, so I wasn't sure where they were going to do it with this one, but you realize at the end of book 3, or maybe the beginning of book 4, that you have not been fighting the Dark One this whole time. This was a tier 2 villain. This was a tier 2 boss.
Right.
There's a lot more to go. And it was this tough just to get this far. Right. What happens next? And that's a great way to grow the world. To raise the stakes in a way that feels natural. Right.
Yeah, so I was delighted by that, and got wowed by some cool visuals, and yeah. So for me, as the non-bookie, this episode did its job, and I felt like I've moved further a step down the story pathway.
Right. Well, Ishmael is here. We now know his name.
Just call me Ishmael.
We're ready to talk about him. Some people call him Ishi on Reddit. We can call him Ishi here if you want.
Ishi, Palpy, Ishi. We like to give our bad guys the diminutive forms of their names to soften them up a little bit.
Exactly. He's very soft spoken. Faris is his name. He's pretty soft spoken.
He's a suave looking MFer. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. He looks good up on there on that litter.
Yeah.
Production notes.
Yes.
I guess we should get through that. You've never read the books, David, as you mentioned. I have read the books, all of them at least once, most of them multiple times. So I will be our book reader, but I won't be spoiling anything that has not happened in the show yet. I will compare things in the books that have already happened, but I will not talk about anything that has not happened yet. We do have screeners for episodes 1 through 4. We're not running ahead. We haven't watched past episode 2, so we're not going to be cute about it and be like, well, we'll see.
I can't talk about that now.
Yeah. It's like playing I'm Not Touching You. It's
so annoying. The worst annoying game in the world.
Right. So we're not going to do that. And then we will, at the end of episode 3, we're going to start a weekly segment called the White Tower segment, where Elysia will come on. You might recognize her from our Mandalorian coverage, from the MC Universe, from Will Shift Dust, her own podcast that's on our network. We're going to talk full book spoilers for all 14 books plus the prequel.
Just you and Elysia.
Just me and Elysia.
Yeah. So when I bail, I'll hustle everybody out who doesn't want to get spoiled. We'll go off, and then you guys can nerd the hell out.
Yeah, we'll talk about changes that they made, what kind of consequences those changes might have. That's going to be our focus with that, and I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Very cool.
All right, David, I think it's time to get into the episode.
Let's go.
We start off with Rand awakening from a nightmare about killing his friends in madness. He is in bed with the innkeeper Celine, who he appears to be in a relationship with. He tells her he has to head to work, and she laments that all their nights together have the same ending. What's your impression of Celine, David?
I think she seems. I think she is more than she seems.
Okay.
For an innkeeper, she, yeah, she just doesn't seem like a low, just a regular old innkeeper to me. She seems to be a
Okay.
bit more of a powerful person, or maybe knowledgeable person, or more crafty or wily in some ways. I don't think she
Okay.
is as simple as things appear to be.
Well, now I know
And
how you feel about innkeepers.
this particular innkeeper, anyway, I'm not gonna, I don't want to get in too much trouble. I'm a married man after all, but Rand is doing well for himself here, all things considered.
Yeah, Celine in the books is described as extremely beautiful. Like,
Okay.
Rand cannot keep his eyes off her,
Mm-hmm.
just radiant. So that is
Right.
what they're going for here.
Okay. Well, they definitely are giving her a lot of, I don't know. So I don't know what I'm trying to say here. There's a lot of sexual chemistry happening here. That's what I'm saying.
For sure. For
Some
sure.
Marvin Gaye, put some Marvin Gaye on the turntable and turn down the lights and let's
Something that they've added in the books is Rand has now had sex with 2 more women than he did in the books.
go. Okay.
And
Really?
I don't know why they, when Rafe Judkins went to adapt this material, he's like, all right, this is all good, but Rand's got to fuck. Like, we haven't made enough changes until Rand gets them.
Right. Yeah. Well, and they're giving him they're giving him a definite look and a swagger as he's walking through town here, and the dude
he's the
tosses,
cool guy.
Yeah, and he gets tossed a whatever passes for a bread or a tortilla, and he's rolling through town there. So
right. So, well, speaking of rolling through town, Ren heads through the foregate of Kyrian toward his work, catching breakfast bread on the way. Ren currently works in what appears to be a sanatorium for those struggling with severe mental illness. As he walks through the hall, he hears a voice say, "You are mine, Rand al'Thor." We then get the title screen.
So, sorry, I wanted to jump back too. There was some whispering in the scene when he kind of wakes from his dream a little bit.
Oh, yeah. He's hearing a lot of voices lately. I couldn't understand what they were saying in that.
Which is frustrating because we don't have the subtitles on our screeners.
Right.
And I was hoping you'd catch some of it, so I wasn't sure what was being said there.
It seems to be all the same vibe of "you're mine," you
right?
know?
And I think we know who Ishi is. Probably I think it's Ishi's voice. Yeah.
Is it because we know that Rand is going toward madness because of his use of the one power? So that's going to be a struggle. Is it someone messing with him, or is it madness creeping in?
Got it, because of the just because of the channeling.
Right.
There was a part of this scene when he's looking out the window. Sorry, I just wanted to jump back to this as well too.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was just me or if it was coincidence, but it looked like as he was looking out into the town, the city, whatever, at least the glimpse I saw, the architecture of where he is reminded me of the building where the Dark Friends Social was having a meeting.
They're in a different area.
Okay, got it.
I'm just going to tell you.
I'm seeing shadows, right? I'm looking on every corner and every nook and cranny. So
they're for sure in a different area because this is not a coastal city. This is Kyrian. So if you'll remember, Kyrian was mentioned in episode 1 by Bail Doman, who said that they found the Heartstone that was broken.
Yes,
near Kyrian.
Oh, okay.
So that's where the broken seal was found, right where Rand is.
Okay, interesting.
So there's a clue there. Kyrian is a major kingdom. It is a major city and a major kingdom within Randland.
I mean, to have a sanatorium and the guards, it seemed like a very a lot of state-provided infrastructure going on here. And
right. And the Foregate is a location from the books. Basically, the main city is made like, a medieval kingdom with brick and stone and whatnot. Then you have the Foregate all made of wood because it's all poor people living over there. Right. And so this is sort of the overflow of the city that Rand's living in.
Yeah, pretty standard for what we understand are medieval towns,
right,
in fantasy.
So that's Rand. David, are we the only ones who are ever going to use the Wheel of Time season 1 theme ever again?
Did they change it? I did not notice.
Well, the title screen is now like a 5-second thing instead of a full theme song.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe they're doing it just because it's this initial drop. Maybe
I don't know, because they've done it on 2 episodes now.
Yeah, or is it just a screener thing, and there'll be more complete?
I don't know. It seemed pretty final, that edit. I don't know why they would change the theme song. We'll have to
see.
Yeah, who knows? Let's move on. Moiraine and Lan recover from their wounds from the Myrddraals. When Varen assumes Moiraine will go to the White Tower, Moiraine reminds her that she's been exiled. However, Moiraine tells Lan she will be heading to the White Tower and takes some jabs at him. She's been so mean to Lan this episode.
Dude, by the end of this episode, I'm just like, F you, Moiraine. Like, what is going on? You know, I really don't understand what's going on, and I'm really mad at her. I'm sure it will all be revealed, and I'm sure there are reasons. I'm just not. I am like, what are you doing?
So Elysia had a really good theory on this, which is that because Lan is the heir to a throne, and Moiraine, well of noble blood, is not an heir to the throne, that he is not her equal. He's better than her. He's higher rank than her.
She's certainly not.
No, but
I don't agree with her tactics here.
Her idea, I think, is let me push him away because he'll be better off without me. So I'm going to sound mean, but when I say we were never equals, I'm not lying, but I actually mean it factually in the other direction.
Right, because she can't lie.
Right. She's doing the Aes Sedai thing. She's using the words that she needs to say. Well, it's not that she can't lie. The actual rule is speak no untrue word.
Right.
So you can mislead with your words.
Yeah. Well, in the simplest sense.
Yeah. So, and I always love how she makes that distinction to people like Egwene. She's like, what do the 3 oaths say? That's very important how they're worded.
Right. Yeah, it's very legalese here, very legalistic.
Right.
Yeah. What's the letter of the law? What's the intent of the law here?
Right.
Well, regardless, I'm still mad at her because she's being meanie McMeanerson, and I don't like it.
Yeah, agreed. Well, let's head to our friends the Shinarans. Uno complains about the tracker refusing to ride a horse, but Perrin backs the tracker up. The Shinarans arrive in a village where Perrin sees a woman through a window. When Perrin investigates, he sees a scene of a family being murdered by dark friends. The vision initially fools him, but the tracker counsels Perrin to learn the difference between vision and reality. The Shinarans determine something scared Fane away and find a mutilated Myrddraal.
So, I think in episode 1, I got a little confused about the tracker because the way that they introduced the tracker to us, it was like we came across this guy.
Yeah, no, he's part of the crew. He's part of the Shinaran crew.
Right, and the way they filmed it, at least the way I interpret it, because I didn't have any priors on that, it was like we just came across this dude, and no, it turns out he's actually part of their crew, 100%.
Yeah, so they've combined 2 characters for this one.
Oh, interesting.
And I actually don't. I think that they're going with one name, but I won't say it until we see the name.
Yeah, fair enough.
There's a character named Hurin who is from the Shinarans and is not Wolfie, but he is a tracker. And there's another character named Elias who's actually the first other wolf-like person that Perrin meets.
Okay.
And I think they're combining these 2.
Okay.
From the books.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, which I think is a wise decision, right? Because now Perrin gets to have this wolf mentor, and you get the tracker.
Right. This is not spoilery stuff that you're covering here, right? You're
I don't think so. I mean, he's in the first book.
But this idea that Perrin gets a mentor. I mean, they're building that relationship right here, obviously.
Well, I mean, it's not like an explicit mentorship. I'm saying like what we're seeing now is just advice given. Yeah. And right. Even in the books, I don't think it goes much further than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this river crossing, this really felt like the river crossing that they did at the same location in season 1 where the Trollocs couldn't cross the river. Maybe it's just a
I don't.
visually.
Yeah, I think
I think
that's
it's a
just a
visual
visual
trick.
thing. Yeah,
Okay.
because they've been going through. Yeah, they're going north and down a coast, which is why they come across the seafaring army later.
Right. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, yeah. Pretty traumatic scene here for Perrin to witness, and then to the reveal that no, this has been this way for a while now, to the point that the flies
Yeah.
and things have set in.
Very creepy.
Very, yeah. It injected a nice horror okay, blah blah. This nice horrific element to the story. So and then to cap it with the Myrddraal sort of in this crucified position, I was like,
What did that, right?
yeah, I was like, wait a minute. This again, I guess that's another reveal of this episode, and it's setting up more questions. Is what is going on here? Because what killed a Myrddraal?
Right.
What crucified a Myrddraal, not just killed one.
Right. And that's really the question, because the last episode we had an attack by a couple Myrddraal that took 2 Aes Sedai and 2 warders to fend off.
Yeah.
And a non-channeling Aes Sedai, I guess.
Right.
And now all of a sudden something just absolutely destroyed this Myrddraal, and it seems like almost effortlessly.
And then why leave it up as a why
message,
crucified in this way? Yeah. Is this a warning, or was this some sort of form of torture? Could you get some information out of Myrddraal? I don't know.
Yeah, Myrddraal can talk in the books, but we have not seen that in the show.
I hope their tongues have adapted to have to deal with all. Because when I bite my tongue, that hurts, and I don't know about biting my tongue with all those teeth in my mouth. So
who knows? It's all magic, so it's fine. Rand checks in on one of his patients who has a fearful reaction to him, but Rand keeps his cool and earns the man's trust. The man calls Rand an Aielman among them after Rand mentions that the Aiel War ended 20 years prior. The man reveals himself to be a blade master and promises to teach Rand sword forms if Rand sneaks a sword in. One of Rand's co-workers torments the old man and taunts Rand about his low position. A lot of subtle lore dump here, right?
Okay.
We know that there are these people called the Aiel.
Aiel
Rand looks quite a lot like one, according to this guy.
Okay.
And that there was a war with the Aiel 20 years ago.
Okay.
We're seeding all this now.
We're
seeding, just a bunch of information, because, I mean, you should know from the trailers, the Aiel are going to be involved in this series at some point.
Okay.
And in this season at some point, I should say.
This guy kind of, in some ways, gave me vibes of who is the sword master who taught Arya?
Yeah. Now I can't remember, but
I want to say Cyrano de Bergerac, but that's an entirely different thing.
Yeah. No, he was. It was the same vibe, except just older.
yeah. Like if he had not been taken down by the King's Guard. So
right.
Yeah, I thought this scene did an interesting job too of setting up Rand as a nice guy who cares about his patients.
Yeah, very kind.
Connecting us to, his humanity, while the other guy is a complete jerk who gets his comeuppance later. So,
yeah.
And then, of course, that turns into a trick. So we actually have more than one reveal in here. We've got a couple of things. We've got this interesting question with the Myrddraal. We've got this whole thing of going on further inside into the sanatorium and meeting the one male caster who we met last season.
Logain,
yep. And then, there's actually a lot packed in this episode. And the more I think about it.
Big lore episode, big exposition episode.
Okay.
Egwene asks where Nynaeve is as she does her chores, but Nynaeve has been taken to the Yellow Sisters' healing quarters by Liandrin. Nynaeve is impressed by the Accepted's healing of a serious illness that was a struggle for her to heal with herbs. Liandrin explains that Accepted are allowed to study with the different Ajas. Liandrin makes a pitch for the Red Aja, which she claims prevents sickness at the root instead of treating it. Liandrin says the long lifespans of Aes Sedai allow them to shape history, and pushes for Nynaeve to become Accepted so they can begin studying together. Again, more exposition, I think.
A lot.
How do the accepted work?
Right.
Okay, so when you graduate from novice to accepted, now you can go study with individual Aes Sedai who don't normally teach and learn sort of their craft. That way you can decide which color Aja you want to go into.
Right, kind of apprenticing. Is this where they mention the arches too, or does that come in a little bit?
The arches, I don't remember if they mention it here, but they are shown later, and they talk about them more later.
Yeah, most certainly, and it's this idea. This certainly sets up that track for
Right.
her to be following. I liked in this too. A couple of things I noticed in this scene. Certainly, Leandrin palming that medicine, that little vial of stuff. Right.
Uh-huh.
I
Yep.
thought she was going to use it to poison Matt, but no, that was a little bit of a.
I did love their interaction later, but we'll get to there.
Yeah, and then the weave is really beautiful here. It's this white and gold. So yeah, it's beautiful. I'm appreciating the way that they're styling the weaves this episode. I mean, this season.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big improvement over last season.
Right.
Did you see Nynaeve light up a lot at the healing?
Totally. She. I got a little confused too because I thought, well, yeah, obviously she's. Maybe this is an Aja that she would want to study with, but then Leandrin was right there saying, no. Systemically, we can do more if you're a red Aja than.
That's such a
Aja.
Weak argument.
It was. I thought it was also like, not as strong.
You're going to cure the flu by making men not be able to channel? I don't understand your argument here.
It didn't.
People are still going to get colds. I don't know what.
Yeah.
What your argument is here. I mean, it's. I think she's saying more people die from, false dragons and whatnot than die from illness. Which
right.
I don't know if that's true.
Yeah,
that seems wrong to me.
Well, he certainly did do a nice job in the scene. It was nice and bright. The whole white,
right,
with the accepted and the light coming behind her, and yeah, it was a nice scene around.
Yeah. I think if I'm looking at Leandrin's motivations here, it's to excite Nynaeve and give her a motivation to become accepted, so she can start to craft her, mold her.
But then it's Nynaeve CSI, and she follows her through the city streets here in the next scene. So
yeah. So I've skipped this quick. I actually did
combine it later.
Yeah, I combined it later because all she does is go, "Where is she?" and then they just leave. Yeah. Let's move on to more Leandrin, who visits Matt with the gift of sweet cakes. After pantomiming her exit, Matt grabs a sweet cake and begins to work on the brick again. This was the scene that won me over as Donald as Matt.
Okay.
I think that this he was a lot funnier in this. He had nothing to work with last episode. That's why I said I'll reserve judgment until he has a real scene. I think he is doing a good job. I'm not sure which Matt I like better yet. I haven't seen him enough again, but this is the Matt we've got, so I'm living with it.
Yeah, he's got a little different. He feels a little bit less of a Joker.
Yeah.
He seems a little bit more serious. This Matt seems a little bit more serious to me.
Yeah, but still sarcastic and snarky, and I did appreciate all his banter with Min later, and I think he's got a good energy for Matt. Yeah.
I really thought Leandrin was going to poison him here too.
But why? Because she's been with him for so long. I feel like there's no motive.
Yeah, that's what I was confused about. Like, why are you why did you show us palming that and then feeding him the cakes, and then he says, "Oh, did you poison me?" I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, why? Why would she kill him?
And even he bought it. He's like, "Yeah, I don't know why you'd be keeping me all this time just to poison me now."
Right.
Well, I guess we'll revisit that later when we get to him and Min. Egwene meets an incoming novice who seems to be a bit out of touch with the vibe of being a novice. After a rocky start, the novice introduces herself as Elaine Trakand, the daughter heir of Andor and daughter of Queen Morghese. Elaine says some of the greatest pairings in the history of the world were formed between novices in adjacent rooms, and she wonders what the future will hold for them. This seems to win Egwene over. First impressions, David?
I didn't know what to think of this. It seemed, obviously she's highborn. She has a lot of servants and fancy stuff, and then she does the old, oh God, how could you live in this pigsty? Oh,
Right.
this is your room. Oops.
Really gets the vibe of rich kid goes to college.
But then yet is not out of touch. Like she actually goes, I'm sorry, and hey, let's talk, and let me come down a little bit, and that wasn't cool on my part. And I didn't know what to do with the line about the pairings because it seemed really on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed very directed to me, the viewer, the watcher, to say, watch this relationship. And
if I could say, I mean, yes, I think that's right. But also,
it was just on the nose, and I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, if I could defend the line, I'd say she grew up. Her mother went to the White Tower for a time. Is not an Aes Sedai, by the way.
Okay.
And she has grown up with, in a palace where Aes Sedai come and go and visit her mother and pay respects. And she has grown up with the lore of Aes Sedai, with the lore of the White Tower her whole life. And so for her to have romanticized it like this and try to manufacture a relationship now with Egwene is very natural to me. That feels natural to me.
Okay. All right.
Especially someone who, as she says, I've never been allowed to have friends, right? I've been cooped up in this tower, in this palace my whole life. And Elaine is actually introduced in the first book in a different way, but I'll save that for another time if it kind of comes up. But this is the first time we see her in the show, and she is a major character. She's a POV character in the books.
I did have to think of, I was trying to think of other great pairings in this way. I certainly thought of Sparrowhawk and Vetch from the Earthsea.
Yeah.
Nice segue there for our other podcasts about the Earthsea books with Ursula K. Le Guin. But yeah, I was also surprised. Boy, this episode is actually full of surprises because you could tell that this was going to be a major character. They were signaling that this is a major character that's coming in right now.
Right.
And so it was like, wow, okay, well here we go.
Right. Well, we've got a huge cast in these books, so a lot of the reveals are happening this season, it seems like, from the trailer and from what we've already gotten.
And I appreciate a season that front loads a lot of stuff so that when we get to the mid to the back end, we've got a lot of things to unwind and ravel and the drama and the tension to go through.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not dragging out anymore. We did the whole Who's the Dragon Reborn thing last season. That's done being dragged out.
Right.
And now, which was exhausting, and I think they could have done that better. But anyway, we're not relitigating season 1. But now they've ended the whole mystery of, well, who is this Dark One? Who is this enemy that we fought? What actually happened there? What are the stakes? We have that revealed by the end of episode 2, which is great.
Right.
And Elaine is introduced, which is good. I think Elaine is a character that surprises and delights you because she is set up to be a tropey character, this out of touch noble, but she actually has a lot of depth.
And this goes into the whole thing that you always talk about with this series of books is the inversions and the flippings of the taking tropes or ideas or different elements of from different stories or plot lines and then messing with them, kind of doing like a Baroque style music, taking a melody and flipping it or playing it backwards or, interleaving it with another over another melody. And so
they call it counterpoint. They call it counterpoint.
They call it that. I knew there was a name for it.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to another White Tower plotline. In the White Tower, Nynaeve asks where Liandrin is and is told she may be able to catch her. I guess I did put this earlier. Sheriam meets with Alana and her warders to discuss Liandrin's proposal of Nynaeve's accepted test. Sheriam says if the last battle is coming, they need Nynaeve at their side. Sheriam is dismissive of the warders and says there will be a vote about Nynaeve's status. Alana says she will not stay because Moiraine needs them. What does Moiraine need them to do? Why is everyone just dancing around Moiraine?
And isn't Alana also? Yeah, she's a blue as well as Moiraine. So
no, she's a green. She's a green.
I'm sorry, not Alana.
Sheriam. Sheriam is a blue. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I just had the names mixed up there. So we got blues and greens teaming up here. So.
Well, they're I thought they were more adversarial there. Oh, I'm sorry. You're saying Alana is a green teaming up with Moiraine, a blue.
Yeah, but at the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
time, Sheriam is a blue, right? And so
right.
she's, even though there might be a
They're
little
kind of
adversarial
adversarial a little
here,
bit there. Yeah.
they're still all in cahoot. They're sort of
Yeah.
going cahoots going on here. So
The green and blue Ajas have always been, for a very long time at least, pretty allied. They largely act similarly in votes in the, because there's a whole democratic system within the
right.
White Tower as well, and they largely vote as a block. It seems like.
Well, I could see too if you got blues doing diplomacy and long range scouting, that the greens would definitely
Hmm.
want to be down with
Yeah,
that intel and
yeah. The blue's
having
all
that.
about like justice, and who do you need to enact justice? The army, and that's the green. There you go. So they fit together pretty nicely.
Alana is such a badass. She like sits back in this scene here, and her hand kind of reaches out, and one of her warders just puts a cup directly into it. She's a queen. She's
She
like
is certainly she's a lot more present in the show than the books, and I like what they're doing with her character.
the actress has got her vibe down so well. Her warders are great. I'm just grooving with everything they're giving with her.
Yeah.
Her costumes are amazing. Yeah,
Yep.
all
Yep.
her jewelry and everything. It's very cool.
And they picked a wonderful actress for Sheriam. I think
100%
that Sheriam is so
matronly.
yeah, she's just so like mistress of novices. Like the minute you see her, you're like, yeah, that's the mistress of novices.
That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
she's the head mistress. Yep. Yep. Of Hogwarts. So the Shinarans arrive in another village that has not been attacked. The tracker refuses to sleep inside with the Shinarans and tells Perrin they are not his pack. What do you think of this? What is the tracker telling Perrin?
Yeah, that was an interesting line, and like you were saying before, there's something going on between this wolf pack stuff, that the tracker with his yellow eyes and Perrin, and he can see, the tracker seems to see that Perrin, he's not a soldier in this same way. He's not
Uh-huh.
a rank and file member. He's something else. There's something, yeah, he's got some other
Right.
destiny, and I think the tracker can see that. And I like I don't know, yeah, again, cool trope here a little bit in that, this weird outsider is informing you of something that you can't yet see about yourself.
He's like, hey, buddy, you're an outsider too.
Yeah. just like me. So yeah.
Yep.
Interesting. He's like, I much prefer to sleep out under the stars, where
Yeah.
where I can't get dragged out by my heels when the invading army
Right.
comes walking in a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know if they've confirmed yet that he's the same as Perrin, and I don't know if they will at this point, and I don't know if they will at all, because he could be a different thing. There's other kinds of powers in this world that he could have, but it does seem like they're setting him up to be Wolf Mentor to Perrin.
Yeah, right. That was a big fishy that they had on the table there, and I'm glad that, I thought it was just going to be a background element, and so I was kind of glad when they showed the people butchering it up a little bit more, that it was a little bit more in the story, because it was a giant fish.
Yeah. It looked better than the fish in Foundation.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Remember that fish we talked about for like 3 minutes? Yeah,
it was terrible. Yeah.
Varen notes that the Eye of the Darkness is upon Moiraine and assumes she's found the dragon. Moiraine asks who else knows while gripping a dagger. Varen applauds her for the lengths she'll go for the dragon, and says the world is still broken. Varen says one day she may have to betray her or the dragon, and refuses to take an oath to not betray either of them. She mentions prophecies about Tommen Head, battles in the sky, a sword of flame, and a branded hand that wields it. Pretty cryptic over here.
Yeah, there you go. You got a Brown talking all kinds of thises and that's, and dusty tomes in books. Yeah, this is a lore dump episode, as you said.
Varen is either my favorite or second favorite character.
Okay.
Overall in the series. She is that good. She's that good. And I'm glad that she gets more screen time in the show so far, I think.
Right. And they picked a great actor to play her part. And so.
Yeah, I love her delivery. It's very matter of fact, but a little bit sassy. Like it's got a little bit of snark to it, but it is very librarian-y. So prophecies, any idea of what they're about?
No, man, this is like, I just have to accept all of this and just pray that
Yeah.
I've got a good podcast to help me pick these details out when the details time come.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we'll just have to wait till they come true. But how about this? I'll tell you when they do come true.
Yeah,
If
fair
you
enough.
haven't figured it out yourself.
Pin this scene into our red yarn corkboard and remind me when we get there.
Fair enough. The dagger
Yes.
that Moiraine grips, that feels like a different vibe. Moiraine feels unhinged here in a way that I have not seen her before.
Seriously, I was like, you're gonna really kill straight up one of your sisters like this? That seemed a little excessive.
Well, they can't use the one power as a weapon, but there's nothing in the oaths that prevents you from killing with your bare hands.
But still, right? This person is, housed you, fed you, is escorted, spending time with you. It seemed a little, but I guess that was to signal the stakes in Moraine's head about what's, that what she's being so consumed by, sort of.
Right.
She seems very possessed by her mission and what she has to do and what only she can do, and
Well, you got to remember the Reds are hunting down dragons. They're hunting down false dragons. They're hunting down male channelers. If you have Varen saying it's one of those three boys, right, that you brought with you, so she knows at least who to look for.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if Varen's not on her side, she's got a big problem here,
right?
And so you got to remember, when you have an oath from an Aes Sedai, that is binding because they can speak no untrue word. And it'll now bind them via their speak no untrue word oath. But you have to make sure you word it right.
Right.
And there's a lot of loopholes in those oaths. All right, David, let's take a quick break. When we get back, we will head back to the Foregate. There's a ton of great nerdy TV out this fall, from the new Star Wars live-action Ahsoka show to the epic journey of the Wheel of Time. The Lorehounds have got you covered with full recaps, deep discussions, and answers to listener questions.
Search for the Lorehounds on your favorite podcast app, including YouTube and Spotify, for a fire hose of science fiction and fantasy. Or head to thelorehounds.com to join the conversation via our contact form or our Discord server.
Whatever you're watching, we'll be there as your guides to great TV.
Matthew McConaughey, when you're not playing the drums naked or filming car commercials, what do you do for fun?
I'll listen to Properly Howard, of course.
Properly Howard? What's that?
It sort of teleports you to a time of movie magic.
So this is a movie podcast?
Something like that, yeah. It's more than that, though. The professor brings a little bit of that highbrow, and then the comedian brings a little bit of that lowbrow. What you get is a little thing called middle brow, kind of like the Baby Bear podcast. It's just right.
Fantastic. So if you're looking for a decent film review podcast, come check out Anthony and Steve at Properly Howard, wherever you get your quality podcasts.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Mr. McConaughey was voiced by stand-up comic Steve Osborne, but in all likelihood does represent the views of actor Matthew McConaughey.
And we're back. During a festival at the Foregate, Rand finds his abusive coworker who attacks him. Rand gets the upper hand and beats the man close to death, then accidentally channels and hears a voice telling him to kill. Rand finds Celine in his room and asks to be alone, but she tells him they need to be alone together before they engage in some rough loving. Yeah, I need to ask you something, David, because I watched this attack scene 10 times to figure out who attacked who first. Just the very beginning of it.
Okay.
I still don't know. I said that the guy attacked Rand.
But
I'm not sure. How about you?
I totally read it as Rand attacking him. He certainly was waiting for him. He tracked him, and even in a confrontation, a surprise, Rand has the upper hand and beats the crap out of him. So I put Rand well within the center of the being the aggressor here. This is
he's absolutely capable, which is why I had to watch it 10 times. I was like,
right,
because they cut really quickly and it's very dark in the scene. That is one complaint I'll have, is that these night scenes are too dark, and it might be the screeners, but that was a problem in season 1 too, so it might just be the edit.
I'm just watching it now, and Rand does grab him because the guy who that he attacks has a white shirt with a vest over it, and you can see him getting yanked by Rand. They flip the camera angles on us, and so
that's what was tripping me up.
Yeah. No, I totally see that. Yeah. So Rand, he's using the one true power to beat up the bullies.
Well, don't say the true power, because that's a different thing.
It's not the true power.
It's not the true power. It's
because it's
okay.
cheated.
Here's an annoying thing. I'll tell you: the true power and the true source are two completely different things.
Oh.
Robert Jordan is very, very intricate with his naming of things.
Okay.
But you're not going to know anything about the difference for a very long time. So just keep that in your back pocket.
Well, he was channeling.
He was channeling the one power for sure.
The one power.
The one power. And yeah, I think you can see he can't hold it back, right?
Right.
And that is the problem, is he can say, I'm not going to channel so that I can avoid madness all I want. But when he gets emotional, when he, just loses himself a little bit, he's going to channel, and he's eventually going to not be able to shut it out.
It kind of reminds me of Nynaeve a little bit too, in that, he channeled when he was angry here. So being in touch with your emotions is, a trigger.
Yeah. So they do go deeply in the books on how the different sides of channeling, the male and female sides of the source, work. And they are different. So the female side of the source, Saidar, is something that you have to, and this is a little problematic, and I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to say what Robert Jordan says. You have to submit to the source. When you're using the female side of the source, you have to basically wrestle with and dominate the male side of the source.
Okay.
So he has women being submitting to the power, and men dominating it. And we know that male channelers on average are a little bit stronger than female channelers. Okay. So it's a little dated, as you say.
Yeah.
It's quite a lot dated, actually. Yeah.
Right.
But that's just the way it works, is that's why it's so confusing, why Nynaeve has to Hulk out to become a channeler, because when it's a type of power that you're supposed to submit to, how does that work? That she's angry and she's taking control of it, and all of a sudden she's channeling Saidar. It shouldn't work. And so she baffles her teachers.
Do you think the showrunner Rafe Judkins is deconstructing that a little bit and playing with it a little bit in this, or do we even have to worry about the question of submission versus domination?
Yeah, I guess you don't really have to.
I mean, bypass that.
There's a couple really good lines and moments that come from that whole thing, but you could bypass it, and I wouldn't mind.
Okay.
But it's the same thing in the books, where Nynaeve people are baffled by the fact that she can channel like that, by becoming angry, because it just doesn't make sense to them as female channelers who are used to channeling in a certain way. And I guess Leandrin is saying, well, don't listen to them. Go ahead, Hulk out all you want.
Right. And put on a red cloak while you're at it, and we're good to go. Let's rock.
Right.
So
Selene and Rand, a little bit BDSM, huh?
Little rough. Couple of intense souls needing some intense comforting.
Yeah, I think throughout this episode, I constantly go, maybe it's a sweet relationship. Maybe it's not. Oh no, well, it's not.
We definitely get the conversation later about how what she needs and what he needs. They're
kind of using each other. Yeah.
And I thought that was an interesting reveal at this stage, and they just put it straight up front. Yeah, look, I'm wounded, you're wounded. Let's bone.
Yeah,
right.
Fair enough.
I don't know how else to put it.
Sounds like a transaction for the transactional relationship to me.
Very transaction, but I think we're going to see some more. There were some things that were in teaser trailery, things. It seemed like she's got more going on here. So
Perhaps. The wheel weaves. Let's move on to the White Tower, where Egwene gives Elaine an orientation to being a novice. Sheriam corners Elaine and asks for the name of the Aes Sedai who let Elaine's maid in. When Elaine refuses to tell Sheriam, she receives a punishment of daily switching for 3 months. Elaine responds, before breakfast or after. Egwene complains about the lack of attention she gets compared to Nynaeve. Then the two find Elaine's quarters bare bones again. I loved Elaine's. This is where show Elaine won me over. Before breakfast or after.
right.
You know, just like right in the face of somebody trying to pull a power move over her, she goes, all right, do it.
I thought switching seemed to be a very harsh punishment for.
Oh, it quite is. Yes.
You know, I thought
it's a very popular. No, in the White Tower, it's pretty much the default.
Man, okay, yeah. You know, just deal with it. It's as long as they don't go gratuitous with it visually and sort of.
Yeah, I don't want to see it once even.
Yeah,
I don't want to see it at all.
We get that it happens. Fine, understood.
Right.
Yeah,
but that is from the books pretty much the default.
And you can tell that Elaine is used to dealing with people of power or people who think that they have power.
Right. Yeah, she's very good at the game of houses. She's very good at politics. You learn early on, and you see throughout the series, Elaine is someone who has paid attention when her mother teaches her politics.
Right. She
which
came
is
prepared.
Great. That is a great character to have because it's interesting. It's someone who could be this privileged person who is, a trust fund baby who never learned anything, but instead really did the work.
Right.
Because she's going to be the ruler. To be clear, the Andoran throne always goes to the eldest woman.
Okay.
There's always a queen of Andor.
Cool.
And so Elaine is going to. I know he's not great at naming people differently who are in the same scenes all the time. But Elaine is going to be queen. She's known that since she's a baby, and she's been raised for it. She's been really groomed for this role.
Interesting person to be paired with Egwene in that regard, then, because Egwene, who is still not confident in who she is or who she's yet to become, to have a buddy who is very confident and who is, standing shoulder to shoulder with you and genuinely kind of wants to be your friend. And that's a big boost for your sense of self and how you can carry yourself when you've got a.
Yeah, to be clear, Egwene's village, Emmons Field, is
inside of
Andor, but it is on so far of the edge that the tax collectors have stopped going there because they make so little money and it's so far that they just stopped going there.
Right.
There's no Andorian guards there. There's no they barely remember that they're part of Andor at the beginning of the series. Yeah, so it's a little bit of two different worlds, I would say, colliding. Nynaeve follows Liandrin through Tarvalon to find her at an old man's sickbed. Nynaeve tries to offer healing advice, but Liandrin screams at her to get out. Liandrin begins crying and apologizes to her beautiful boy for leaving him in pain. Twist!
I don't know how I felt about this scene from the acting standpoint. It felt a little bit overacted to me. I get her anger and I get her striking. Nynaeve, the beautiful boy stuff. I guess I just had a different opinion of Liandrin, and for her, I get what they're doing, right? She's got this hard exterior, but there's some soft, squishy bits on the inside. I just didn't. This is one scene where I was just like,
this is a show creation, by the way.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
Completely show creation. She does not have this person in the books. I'm reading this as her son. Are you the same?
I have no idea. He seems very old. I don't know what's going on. I don't know who he is. I mean,
but you had an earlier scene where where Liandrin says, "We live for hundreds of years."
That's true. That's a good point. And he's not. So okay, that would make sense.
If he's not channeling, he's not going to have an extended lifespan.
Right. Okay. All right. I could buy that then.
I think that's what they're going for here. Beautiful boy sounded like a son to me.
And why doesn't she? I don't know. Like, if she's got resources and who she is, why doesn't she have some attendance? I mean, she's leaving him alone all day. I don't know. I maybe I'm just reading too deeper into the scene. The point is, Leandrin has a vulnerability in the sense that there are somebody she cares for a lot, and she's keeping that secret. So.
And don't forget, Moiraine threatened her with this knowledge last season.
But was she? I thought she was getting frisky with a man.
She just said, "I know there's a man you visit in North Harbor." That's all she said. She did not say anything about a relationship.
So then, what I read into that was that she had a secret liaison.
I did too. But now I saw this and I put it together. Yeah, and I was like, I think this is what Moiraine is saying.
Interesting. So Moiraine didn't really follow through well enough to understand what that was.
Well, she didn't suggest either way. I think she just said, I know you visit a man. You're a red Aja visiting men. You're supposed to hate men.
Right.
Your sisters would not like it very much if you were, crying over the sickbed of a man.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I think that's
dramatic tension.
If she had a child with a man and then raised a man and is now mourning the loss of that man, that's messing with her red Aja credentials.
Got it. Would you say, John, that her heart is in conflict with itself?
Oh, boy. All right, here we go again. Back to the jokester. Matt gets through the bricks just to find another cell. Out pops Min, who calls him the possum that's been scratching at the walls. The two work together to get through the rest of the bricks. Were you surprised and delighted, as I was?
No, because I don't have, I guess, the same connectivity to Min that you might. Okay. I was surprised.
Do you recall her from season one?
I did once we got once they came through on the other side and started interacting. I was like, oh, okay. Wait, wasn't she in the Then
she was the bartender.
Yeah.
Who tells Rand all about the visions, when
right.
she's So she's basically the one who made him realize he was the Dragon Reborn.
I gather that Min is a favorite for a lot of people.
Controversial.
Okay.
I think you love her or you like her, but you wish she were more developed. I think those are the two sides of it. I think she is underdeveloped in certain points.
Well, it seems like they're giving her some more stage here, some more of the stage here. So, and that she and Matt are gonna, have some kind of engagement. A couple of tricksters, a couple of irreverent people, and then, well, we'll get to it when we get to the scene. But yeah, it's an interesting chemistry.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't remember her interacting with Matt that much in the books. So this is pretty much all new of these interactions. But also, Matt wasn't in captivity of Leandrin in the book. So we are all in fresh ground here. I don't know how we got here, to be honest with you. But I think it has the potential to go interesting places. I think they're trying to do some clever sleight of hand here to get things back on track after losing Matt for the last 2 episodes of season 1.
Got it. Right. They're gassing up his character plot lines and stuff.
Exactly. And they're giving him a little bit of room to breathe in these 1-person, 2-person scenes.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Where this actor can establish himself as, all right, I am Matt. Get over it. It was funny because in the first episode I noticed, and I think they did it in this episode too, is every time somebody says a line to him, they're like, so Matt, how are you? Matt, here are some sweet rolls. Isn't that great, Matt? They never use pronouns. They never use. Yeah, it's always like Matt, the guy who's always been Matt. But yeah, I enjoyed their chemistry here, and I hope that it continues. I enjoyed the possum bit. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, good nickname. I hope that nickname sticks.
Yeah, that's good. That's new too. Moiraine and the other Aes Sedai and warders discuss how each pair met. Moiraine interrupts the speculation about her and Lan, and the two recount their meeting outside Chachin. Lan thought she was a mercenary following him, and Moiraine thought he was a dark friend. Moiraine found Lan meditating by a pond with his sword sitting nearby. When she grabbed his sword, Lan grabbed Moiraine and threw her into the water.
Pretty funny.
Yeah, this is actually from the prequel. This is recounted in the prequel, New Spring. So they're bringing some stuff in here.
And of course, great set up for when they eventually part here at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Right. So we're like, oh, they're moving closer together. Moiraine is joining the circle. Nope, psych.
Fake you out. Yep.
Yeah.
And of course, there's this great line, I think, from Elysia. Any old warder can protect you from a Trolloc, but the right one can protect you from yourself.
Yeah, that is a nice. You've got to be not only their physical protector, but in some ways their
check.
Their check, their balance, a moral compass. The friend that says, "Nah, put the shot glass down. We've had enough tonight. Let's go home."
Oh boy. Yeah. So a lot of good stuff here. I loved their sort of charming back and forth. I will say something that has been annoying to me in the show generally is they are really accentuating anything sexual that they can. Oh, well, now the story is getting good now that we have the lover, the older woman lover in the story.
Right.
Yeah, all right. We get it. Aes Sedai want to have sex. We get it. I don't know why that's a thing. It's not really a thing in the books, and it does take me out of it a little bit. It makes me feel like they're stretching things to get closer to a Game of Thrones darker, a more adult vibe. And I don't know if this show needs it, because I think it has quite a bit of story and quite a bit of musing about morality and good and evil and how to adapt to changes in your life and how to leave your village and become this all-powerful person who you, when you are facing madness. It has so many questions. Why do I need... Okay, but we also like to have sex so much, and that's what we want in our stories.
Right.
But it's a minor quibble, so I'll move on. Min and Mat make progress through the wall, and she slips through a bottle of wine. The two share a drink while Min tells Mat about her ability to see glimpses of the future and her accidental trip to Tar-Valon. Mat tells Min unless she can see how he gets out of there, he doesn't want to know the shit heading his way. They agree to meet again before Min has a vision of Mat stabbing Rand with a dagger. A lot here, especially the end scene. What were your thoughts, David?
Well, just more confusion. I was like, okay, well, now that's out there. What does that mean? And how is that going to get resolved? Is that actually something that's, how many seasons are we going? I hope they put that scene at the end, because it looks like Rand of today, so.
Right. Yeah, it's tricky because I know, and I think Min has said this. I think Min has said this is that her visions have to come true.
Uh-huh.
They do always come true, but that doesn't mean they're going to come true in the way you expect them, right?
Okay. Right.
Doesn't mean that it's going to happen the way. So you could be seeing some, but that did seem pretty clear that he is stabbing and healing Rand.
Yeah. It's not ambiguous. There was not a lot of ambiguity about that, and it kind of made me a little sad because suddenly here are these two irreverent trickster characters, and hey, let's get drunk and have some fun and kick it around a little bit. And then Min at the end was
just a vibe kill.
Yeah, I shouldn't be. Yeah, total vibe kill. Maybe I shouldn't be hanging out with this dude.
Yeah. But then she actually does go, yeah, my social calendar is open and we'll hang out.
Right.
Yeah. I do see a way out based on what I know already of this. Okay. But I will save that for the White Tower segment.
Please do.
Yeah. The wheel weaves. This whole idea, she accidentally got to Tar-Valon, kind of funny because she was not in Tar-Valon in the book. She was in Baerlon. They met her, which is just another small city outside of Caemlyn, which is the capital of Andor. And I'm using a lot of proper nouns, and I apologize.
Yeah. Can I make a side plug here? We were just on the Properly Howard movie review, one of our affiliate podcasts, and me and Elysia were talking Dune with Anthony and Steve. And you were complaining about the
I know
proper nouns.
Wait until we get to Tel'aran'rhiod in this book, in this series. I think we might get it this season, but it is a very big thing, and it's Tel'aran'rhiod. And if I ask you to spell it, I guarantee you're not going to guess it.
Oh, fair enough. I will take.
Guarantee it. Bait. I wouldn't have guessed it. So I enjoyed their little wine date. I don't know if they'll go in a romantic direction here, but we will see.
Yeah, I would be disappointed if they went in a romantic direction. I don't need a romantic direction.
It felt more buddy cop, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So back to the romance. In bed, Celine tells Rand there was a man she loved once who left them shattered. She says he still has her whole heart, and when she's with Rand, she can pretend she's with him, which is a gift. Rand says when he's with her, he thinks of someone he wishes he could forget. And my comment here is, what a toxic relationship.
Oh, great. You're not making a pass at me, but I'm just sort of this pretend for physical form of somebody else you really like. So,
yeah.
I mean, look, if it's, to what degree is it consent? Hey, do you mind if I pretend that you're somebody else while we do this? Well,
does seem
okay.
like that's her. She's very open about it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that they had this conversation so that we understand the stakes of the relationship. But I think that it's going to lead a little bit further down the road for both of them. So.
Yeah, they are both pretty miserable without their old lovers. Again, they've developed the Egwene Rand romance more in the show than the books. So I think he's referring to her because we saw them together in the first episode. But and also, he had that fantasy at the end by Ishmael, who kind of forced the fantasy on him.
Right.
And that shows that was Rand's dream, was to have a family with Egwene.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Sad. Elaine shows Egwene a delicious new weave and says she was never allowed to have friends. Elaine asks about Nynaeve, and Egwene vents about how she works so hard while Nynaeve slacks off and says she's there to protect Egwene. Nynaeve hears Egwene's complaints about her not being there and storms off. Elaine tells Egwene jealousy is not the best look on her. Again, Elaine being very insightful, very good at reading people. I think, again, subverting this trope of the out-of-touch noble. Yeah, good scene.
And then, we got a well-used plot device of overhearing a partial conversation and having a reaction to it. And,
yeah, a little cheesy.
Yeah, that's fine. This is what happens in schools of magic when you, listen in at doors you're not supposed to listen in. Well, it's not even like she was not supposed to listen in. It was just sort of accidental.
Well, she did break into Egwene's room too.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, poor Nynaeve. She's all messed up about a lot of stuff here.
Hulking out every day. She just can't stay calm.
Nope.
Yeah. How do you feel about this though with Egwene's comparison? I'm working hard every day. We see even the Aes Sedai concerned that Egwene is too focused. Right? She is too into the rules and she's having trouble loosening up at all. Whereas Nynaeve is like, I'm not doing anything, and they're raising her to accept it. That must feel pretty terrible.
I'm going to drink the dirty glass of water. I'm not even going to participate in your silly, challenges here.
And it's even worse in the books because Nynaeve, the first thing that she does when she gets to the tower is take the accepted test. She never spends any time as a novice. So it's different here in the show. I'm actually glad they did this to show that, she was a novice for a time. I very much was like, why wouldn't they just have her be a novice for a time, even just to learn a little bit of humility? She really needed it.
Right. Well, and to bounce her up this way, it sets up some dramatic tension between them and with her character. So,
right,
I think it works.
Right. Yeah, I think it works too. While Nynaeve broods over Egwene's complaints, Liandrin comes and reluctantly brings her through the White Tower. They arrive at a gathering of Aes Sedai who introduce the ceremony to become accepted, which will require Nynaeve to pass through some mysterious arches and face what she fears. I love the arches in the books, and I cannot wait for the next episode.
Okay. I noticed that it looked like two of the arches are broken.
Yeah, they're kind of falling apart, but they still work.
Okay. Well, yeah, like one is whole and then the other two both seem to be something's wrong with them. So,
okay.
I don't know what
I
that
think
means.
It's more about the magic of them than it is the structure. So I think I don't recall that from the book. Maybe they'll add something for the show.
I got very strong Dagobah vibes here.
You got to go to the cave.
Yeah.
And face your fears. Yeah.
If a little green creature was sitting in the back of Nynaeve's shoulders there,
And then Darth Nynaeve will become her. Yeah.
Did you notice one thing I noticed? I don't know if you noticed this of the two other Aes Sedai that were down there. Obviously the what's her name? The mistress. I apologize.
Sheriam. Yep.
Sheriam. The other Aes Sedai that was there.
Mm-hmm.
That actress was when Egwene was at the beginning of the episode 1, when Egwene's going around collecting up the glasses, the cups, and the dirty dishes or whatever. This Aes Sedai tosses a glass to her, basically, sort of in this very kind of annoying and haughty manner, and yet,
lovely.
That's who this is here. So.
That annoying and haughty does kind of describe the whole of the Aes Sedai. They are a very, very haughty. Yeah, they're a very uptight institution that very much looks down on others.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you excited for the Arches?
Well, I'm a little nervous. I don't know if I'm going to meet my myself disguised as my father.
Fair enough. Well, we'll see what Nynaeve sees next week, probably. Or actually today. I'm sorry. This is a triple drop.
I'm actually looking I freeze framed on the scene of the 3 arches as they pan out, and definitely the left and the right arches don't have their top archy bits. They're
interesting.
So that's where the middle one is like completely whole and intact.
That's cool. All right, a few more scenes left. This next one is the dense one, so I'm going to take it slow, and we're going to go through it afterward. Moiraine tells Lan she decided to make him her warder when he was unfazed by 3 Trollocs. This told her that he would one day be able to survive on his own. She tells him to go to the tower and let her continue alone. When he refuses to leave, she tells him the last battle is coming and they're already losing it. She says the Quendiar was a seal keeping Ishamael imprisoned, and that at the eye of the world they set him free. She says the Forsaken are 3,000-year-old channelers who are the most powerful who ever lived. When she says Ishamael cut Moiraine off with a flick of the wrist, Lan says he thought it took 8 Aes Sedai to cut someone off from the source. She lashes back, tells him Rand is still alive, and mocks him about his failure with the Fades to push him away. She tells him they were never equals and that Alana will take his bond by force if she has to. A lot here.
Yeah.
She's mean to Lan. Let's just say that up front.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to rehash that. Yeah.
Yeah.
This Quendiar keeping Ishamael imprisoned, that's a big mic drop moment.
Okay.
Because now we know that that's exactly who that is, right? The guy who has been masquerading as the Dark One never actually explicitly called himself the Dark One, right?
Right. Yeah. We all just assumed that.
Right. But that's Ishamael. That is as she says, the chief lieutenant of the Dark One.
Right.
So that's who we've been dealing with. And there's more, apparently. And she says he might be freeing them as we speak.
Right. This got very Black Company for me. In it's always the series of books, The Black Company. There's all these power characters and, weird alliances and things locked away. And I haven't read all of those. I've just read a little bit of it, but it just gave me that vibe.
Yeah. And I think that Robert Jordan was inspired by the Black Company in that regard. I think he based the Forsaken largely on that structure.
Oh, interesting. Oh, really?
Yeah, I do think this is a direct link. Yeah, I think this is a direct link here. Someone can write in and correct me if they know otherwise, but I've heard that is a direct link. He was directly inspired by that.
Oh, wow. Well, that's just the vibe I got. So that's cool. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Yeah. That just for people who may not be familiar, the Black Company or a series of books about a mercenary company by Glenn Cook is the author. So
great series. Great series.
I enjoyed the first book that I read of it.
Yeah, I've only read the first book too, but as
It's a
I
trip.
say, great series. But
Yeah.
I do want to continue. I've just been so busy with watching 3 shows at the same time and podcasting about them.
Never mind family, children, work,
Yep.
all the other
Yep.
things.
Yep. 3,000-year-old channelers we have here who are the most
Okay.
powerful who ever lived. How are they alive?
And can just, flick of a wrist, depower a very powerful Aes Sedai. So,
Or can they? Because Len is convinced that they can't.
and she did. Well, they teased. Did Moiraine actually start to channel,
Right.
or was that the
Right.
energy from the other Aes Sedai that came to rescue them?
Right.
It's a little ambiguous in the visuals of the scene.
Yeah, so he's saying it takes 8 Aes Sedai to cut someone off permanently.
Mm-hmm.
Is she not cut off permanently? Is it just a really strong shield? That's been the
Right.
question for us the whole time. I
Okay.
think that's where they're leading here. They're not
Got
going to leave her nerfed the whole series.
Well, and what I don't get is if you are nerfed, if you are cut off, then why would you try to go off on your own? I'd want some protection. I'd want somebody I could trust. I'd want somebody I could talk to.
Because she doesn't want her check anymore. She wants to be able to go rogue. I think that's what she's saying.
That would make sense. That
Yep.
would make sense.
Yep,
Even
I
if
think
she's
that's where we're
not at full power.
Yep. Because I think she's more interested in counseling Rand and pulling political strings than she is fighting.
Rand's not gonna. It's not gonna go well. It's not gonna work well.
Yeah.
She's going to have all these ideas about, I'm going to teach you and counsel you and guide you and whatever. And you have to know this. And don't you understand that? And Rand's just going to be like, piss off, lady.
The wheel weaves, David. It sure does. It sure does.
Very good. Okay, good. I will, we'll take it. I'll take that as, I'll keep exploring those thoughts and feelings.
Yeah. So Perrin wakes to an attack as he is dragged from bed. The Shinarans do their best against an unknown enemy and manage to free Loyal to go into Hulk mode, but are eventually cornered by leashed channelers and are blown away by their wind. Perrin is dragged by his feet to sit by the other prisoner survivors. We see all the named Shinarans survive, of course, and we see a Shanshan ruler arrive with Ishmael by her side.
So both episodes 1 and 2 so far have ended in a nice battle sequence. So it's nice that
this was good. I thought
action.
that the choreography was really good. I thought the effects were really good. It felt nervous and chaotic, as he's going through there, which is the way that a battle like that should feel.
Mm-hmm. In the dark, at surprise, your forces are scattered, and you're trying to find an upper hand. And he's like, Shinarans to me, and then whoops, you're getting an upper hand here, but then you lose badly.
Right.
These guys look scary.
Thoughts? Yeah, it is. It does look scary. I loved Loyal going into Hulk mode because that is something in the books. Ogier are extremely calm, but if you piss one off,
there you go to town.
They are very good fighters as well.
Right.
Yeah, they're very strong. They can beat you up. And I like that they kind of almost got the upper hand, and then these channelers come in, and we know Aes Sedai can't fight with the one power, but this is something different.
And they have these weird mouthpieces, and then they have the backup, the people, the 2 women behind them that are, so there's some sort of structural stuff going on. I have questions. I've got a lot of questions.
There's a lot there. Again, this world will keep getting bigger for a while.
Okay.
We're not done expanding yet.
Very cool.
But this is a very scary force that we've not seen in Randland before that has just come in. And we know that these women who are channeling can use it as a weapon and that they're being controlled in some way.
Right. Yep.
Because they've got gags on, right?
Right.
And they're doing these hand dances to channel. So yeah, it's scary. And then of course we get that shot of the litter with the Shanshan ruler with Ishmael.
It almost degrades it to call it a litter. This thing is ginormous
I know,
and
it's,
ornate.
what else
and
can we
full
call
of
it?
People. I don't know. That's the technically correct term as far as I know.
I know. Yeah.
So it's
Well,
terrifying.
yeah, the throne is carried in. Let's just say
Yes.
that. She's
Yeah.
carried in on her throne with Ishmael by her side.
Which is kind of, so great reveal, that Ishmael is not like he is subservient to another person, power,
Or is he?
entity. Well,
Right?
he's not sitting. I mean, he's standing as he's not in the position of ultimate authority here.
No,
She's
no.
in some sort of authority.
Right. Yeah,
And he
I mean,
acknowledges her and references her authority in as much as that he is not at the center, but off to the side. So
I'm looking at him as a worm tongue figure in the show right now.
Interesting.
Crazy
costuming here. Crazy. I don't know if this is hair or what's coming out of this person's head around the mask. Did you ever see the movie 300?
No, I saw the parody of it, which is terrible.
Well, there was some. They really over stylized. I believe it was the Syrian forces in that. So it made me think of that in some ways.
Okay.
And big reveal, and to see Ishi here see Perrin, he gets pretty excited by the fact that he's encountered one of the what's the name of the town they're from again?
Well, Emmonsfield.
Emmonsfield, one of the Emmonsfielders.
Sometimes we call them the Emmonsfielders. Sometimes we call them the Emmonsfield 5. Some people call them that.
to see one of the 5, he was pretty pleased with that.
And we were told that they're Taviran at the end of last season. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So they are all 5 of them, which is different from the books. There's only the 3 boys. Only Rand, Matt, Perrin are in the books. But all 5 of them in the show are people who the pattern will weave around. They are able to influence large events.
Okay.
So he's excited to see Perrin.
Yep.
What can he do with him now?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Scary stuff. So I'm excited to see where that goes. That's again pretty different from the books, but same vibe, and I see where they're going with it.
Okay.
Last scene though.
Yes.
Rand goes to work and learns his coworker. I could not understand the name without subtitles. Yam. It sounded like Yam to me.
Yeah, I didn't.
But that cannot be it. That cannot be it. So I hope we find out at some point. So he learns that his coworker was attacked the previous night. Rand is assigned to his position with the wealthier residents outside. He greets Logain and tells him they have a lot more in common than his previous attendant.
So did Rand know that Logain was back here? Or
that's how I'm reading it. I think that because he didn't seem surprised at all. He had a smile on, like, I planned this whole thing.
Exactly.
I knew you were here. I researched I asked around where Logain went, and I worked my way through these ranks until I could find you and I could talk to you.
He's looking very confident and very intently at Logain here in this end scene. Yeah. So I think you're right. I think that's a good reading of it is that this was his plan all along.
Yeah. And even Logain seems a little smirky. He's like, ooh, what are we going to do together? Because, I mean, he can't channel anymore. But my question is, can he kind of tell that Rand can?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't recall if
you
can. Yeah, I don't recall if you can after you've been cut off in the books. I don't know if it ever came up. But certainly a male channeler who still can channel can sense another male channeler.
Right. And I think he's getting, there's vibes here between both of them going both ways.
Yeah. Good vibrations.
Yes, absolutely. Cool.
Well, what an episode.
Yeah.
We've got no feedback because the show hasn't come out yet. But of course, if you're listening to this and want to write in, WOT@thelorehounds.com, or you can head to thelorehounds.com and send in your voicemails, contact form entries, get on the Discord server, however you get it to. I don't care. I'll put it in the outline. And for now, though, we're going to move on to our outro. And I think, David, we're going to do a quick outro tonight since people probably just listened to our episode 1 podcast.
Yeah, this is kind of a part 2 of 3. So we don't need to belabor too much. Go check out Properly Howard movie reviews. Steve and Anthony are having a good time. We just did a guest pod with them covering the remake of Dune. check out Wool Shift Dust. Check out Elysia. Speaking of Dune, she's doing a whole deconstruction of Dune. Wool Shift Dust does Dune, talking about documentaries and the history of the books, and getting into Frank Herbert as an author. All hoping that Dune Part 2 will be out later this year if the studios don't mess around and move it. And then Alicia's also got her Wool Shift Dust book club running. Check that out. We've got show links in all the show notes below if you're interested in that, or hop over in the Discord and give a shout out. And there's plenty of people over there willing to, point you in the right directions or provide you with links of things if you need to follow up, if
Right.
you need help searching any of those things out. But please do check out our affiliates because we're all in this together and we're all having a good time podcasting.
Yeah. Speaking of our podcasting, quick notes, we're also doing Ahsoka and Foundation at the same time. So check our main feed for that. If you're not on there, search Lorehounds wherever you are. We've got plenty of other projects going, but check out the outro of last episode or the next episode if you want more on that. And time for one more thing, David, our
Yes, sir.
Patreon Lore Masters.
Yes. Oh, yes, of course, as always.
Gotta shout them out. Samartian, Cyrus, Mark H, Michael G, Michelle E, David W, Brian P, Nick W, SC, Peter OH, Bettina W, Adam S, Nancy M, Lavinia T, Duve71, Brian 8063, Frederick H, Sarah L, Gareth C, Eric F, Matthew M, Sarah M, DJ Miwa, Andra B, Kwang Yu, Laura G, Deadeye Jedi Bob, and Nathan T. Long list. Keeps getting longer, and we love it. And thank you to our lore masters and all of our patrons for allowing us to get screeners and, do these advanced recordings so that we can get the podcast out faster. It helps us devote more resources and time to these things when we have Patreon supporters. So
That's right.
thank you again.
Thanks, everyone.
David,
Yes.
see you in a couple hours.
Thanks, John.
The Lorehounds podcast is produced and published by The Lorehounds. You can send questions, feedback, and voicemails at thelorehounds.com/contact. Get early and ad-free access to all our episodes at patreon.com/thelorehounds. Any opinions stated are ours personally and do not reflect the opinion of or belong to any employers or other entities.